We thought we were building something for our wives and us to play.
It was just a wild ride to watch it grow from just like 20 people to millions and millions. It's a pretty addictive game. I'm John Thornton. I'm the creative director for You vs. the Internet.
So I'm Jason Cahill, and I'm the technical director of You vs. the Internet. John had walked into my office one day. We were neighbors in the Windows photo group, and he showed me on his phone, hey, I've got this little word game going.
And I asked him if he wanted to help, and his response was no. He was a little bit like, you're a little crazy here. You should be working harder at your job rather than building games on the side.
But then I went home and I thought about it, and I was like, wow, there's so many fun problems here, and I've always wanted to be a developer, so maybe I'll spend a few hours in my evening thinking about it. That weekend I coded like crazy, and I sent John a bunch of emails.
And he's like, hey, this is actually kind of a neat idea. I would love to be part of this if you want to have me. And I was like, of course. He knew how to scale, and he knew how to do a bunch of things that I didn't know how to do. And that was really the power of our partnership, is that we both brought different things to the table. He brought a strong understanding of services and dev, and I brought a stronger side of client and design. And together we were able to build something that neither one of us could have built by ourselves.
We intentionally designed Wordament to be kind of a dumb client. It doesn't know anything about the puzzles. It actually doesn't know how the answer keys work. It wakes up and it says, hello, cloud, please tell me who I am and what game room I'm playing in and give me a puzzle. And then that powers the whole experience.
So at the highest level, we have an Azure service that contains our puzzles, and that's where we do all our leaderboards and rank everything. And so our clients, which are all phone clients, talk through HTTP web requests to our Azure service and get a game, post to the leaderboards, and then get the leaderboards. And that's kind of the loop that we run in.
So our games are monetized strictly by ads. We've always had a principle that we want our games to be frictionless.
Many things aren't truly free today. A lot of apps you download, it's free, but you get like one level, and then you have to buy this in-app purchase. The ad control lets us give everybody a free game, and effectively we get paid by the minutes that somebody puts into it. So if somebody's willing to play 10 minutes a day, they're paying the bills for that Azure service to run, and it all works out great.
There are plenty of free options with Azure, whether it's running Azure websites, of which you get 10 for free when you start, to using a $150 credit every month to get started. You can build a pretty successful game before you would have to pay really anything.
5 years ago, if you're talking about creating a service, you meant buying machines, and that's expensive, and most people don't have the ability to do that. Whereas today you can rent, right? You just get a couple of VMs spun up, it's super cheap, you can try your ideas out, and if you have a good idea, people will play it.
There are tools available today for free. You can get Visual Studio for free. You can go and get a full game engine like Unity for free, which runs great on Windows and works great with Visual Studio.
I don't think you need a professional studio to create a success. In fact, I think that gets proven pretty much every couple of months. There's something that shows up like a Flappy Bird or a Threes or whatever it is that shows up, and it's a very popular game that was made by a small studio or sometimes even an individual. Those days are still much alive and well. And the reason that is because we have tools today that enable individuals to create very complicated pieces of software that, would have been really hard even just 5 years ago.
The smaller you are, the less time you have. And if you're not doing this as a full-time job, you don't want to get bogged down in, oh, I have to go learn this in order to be successful. And so there's a lot of options for building great C# games on the Windows platforms. Whether you build them from scratch and you build in something like XAML, or whether you build with DirectX, or whether you build with Unity, which also uses C#. You can sit in Visual Studio through the entire process. And so Azure just becomes really the only platform that is C# first.
We use like the whole Microsoft stack. We use Azure, obviously, we use Visual Studio, we use Xamarin. We're living the developer dream at Microsoft. Like, we have almost all the tools that you can use, we take advantage of. Everybody always asks that. How long did it take you to write Wordament? And I always answer, well, it took 6 weeks to write the first version, but then we never stopped. When
we built Wordament this most recent time, we said, this has to be the code base that allows us to build future games on.
The new game is called Snap Attack. It's a massively multiplayer word building game. So where Wordament was a word finding game, this is all about making words. The game mechanic is really fun in the new game too, because it's an entirely new kind of gameplay. I've never seen a game like this. Obviously there's been Scrabble games out there for a long time where people can play against each other. But this is a pit. I mean, everybody's in there at the same time, trying to make words as fast as they can with the same racks and the same boards. And from a game design perspective, I think it's an entirely new kind of game, and I'm really excited to see how that does.
The #1 skill you need to write an app is perseverance. You just have to be willing to try. It doesn't matter if you've been writing software for a day or 10 years. Some parts of it are going to be hard. And if you're willing to try and you're willing to stick with it, you will make something. And you will be proud of that something. And chances are, if you like what you made, there are other people in the world that will too.